Good evening, citizens and guests. If anyone wants to make a presentation or speak to council specific to the variance request, there are speaker cards on the counter, on the desk over here. If you want to speak to council in general, there is a sign-up sheet. Thank you.
How are you?
I'll put it on mute.
So there's that button. I totally understand that.
Present. Mayor Maxton.
Here.
Councilmember Stroop. Not present. Councilmember Elizondo. Councilmember Bliss. Not present. Councilmember Kerner.
Here.
Councilmember Parker.
Here.
And Councilmember Menchow. Not present. Planning and Zoning Commission, when I call your name, please say here or present. Chairperson Barbie Barnes. Here. Commissioner Linda Tom. Here. Commissioner Marty Bryant. Here. Commissioner David Horwath. Commissioner Bernie Martin. Here. Commissioner Dale Pearson. And Commissioner Bobby Bailly. We have a quorum for both council and the Planning and Zoning Commission. Before we start our meeting, I just want to make sure that everyone has their microphones near their mouth. Some are hanging down too low. It needs to be brought forward. Thank you so much. That way we can get everyone's sound.
Just, mention we are sharing.
You have to, where is it right now? Yes, you'll have to have it near your mouth when you speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Will everybody please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. We'll start off tonight with citizens to be heard, and this is not related to the variance that we're looking at tonight. Is there any information or is there anybody that would like to speak as part of citizens to be heard? We had nobody sign up. All right, we'll move on to the public hearing. Tonight, the City Council and the Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Fair Oaks Ranch will conduct a joint public hearing to receive public testimony on the variance application number P&Z 2022-03-28. And this is a request from Thomas C. Deckert, applicant and property owner, to grant a variance from the requirements of the UDC section 5.4-1B to reduce the street frontage for a lot served by private septic from 150 feet to 70 feet for the property located at 423 and 425 Ammon Road, Bernie, Texas. And Christine, I have the time now is 6:34. We will open the joint public hearing. With that, I'll turn it over to Lotta for the basic information of what we're looking at tonight.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council, and Planning and Zoning Commission. My name is Lata Krishna Rao, and I'm the planning consultant helping the city with processing these applications. So what you have in front of you today is a joint public hearing. Next slide. Oh. So as the agenda topic says, this is a request for a variance, and the property owner is seeking a variance from the requirements of the Unified Development Code. And the variance is to reduce the lot frontage for a lot that's served by private septic from 150 feet to 70 feet. And I'll describe that in detail a little bit later. The lot is, the parcel is located on Ammon Road at the intersection of Rolling Acres Trail. And so just to go over the sequence of the public hearing, like you mentioned, once the staff is going to make a presentation, and then the applicant will have an opportunity to come and make their presentation, after which the council and the Planning and Zoning Commission will receive testimony from the citizens who may be here to speak for or against the request. And then after the joint public hearing, the mayor will close the public hearing. So really, when the testimony is being received, there's not a lot of back and forth going on. You will have an opportunity to do that once the public hearing is closed. And then the council P&Z can discuss the case and ask questions of the consultant and staff at that time. and then the public hearing is adjourned. So at this meeting, no formal action is necessary. This is just to hold the public hearing. So after the public hearing, the Planning and Zoning Commission is going to convene into their regular meeting, and at that time, they will also discuss the case and make a recommendation to the City Council. And again, it's a recommendation to the City Council, so the Planning and Zoning Commission can either approve, deny, or table action. If they need more information, they can table action on this item. Then, once the P&Z recommendation is in place, then this item will show up at the City Council agenda of June 2nd, and that is your regularly scheduled meeting. And at that time, the City Council has the ability to vote on this variance, and City Council authority is the final authority on the request. So. Just before I get started, I guess there was a question as to why do some variances go to the Zoning Board of Adjustments and why is this variance coming to P&Z and Council? So the Unified Development Code has two types of variances. One is the judicial variance and the other one is a policy variance. And as I will explain later, this is considered a policy variance. So since the City Council has the ability to make laws and set the policy, they also have the ability to vary the policy in this case. So that's why this is going to come to you. If it was a judicial variance that is listed as something that needs approval from the Zoning Board of Adjustments, you would not have seen that variance. So basically, as you can see, the applicant is reconfiguring the existing two lots. So there is no increase in the number of lots. The reason for this reconfiguration is that one of the parcels at the back is landlocked. So there's two parcels, 10 acres and 17 acres, out of which the one at the back does not have access to a street. And the code requires that to get a building permit to build a house, the property needs to have a frontage on the street. So that's why they need to reconfigure the parcel, basically. The minor plat, the applicant has submitted a minor plat that is being reviewed. The property is zoned rural residential. And so, like I said, this diagram shows the proposal. The front lot that is track 2 is proposed to be approximately 8 acres, and the rear lot is proposed to be approximately 19 acres. The front lot will encompass the existing house that's there, and the applicant wishes to use the rear lot to build another single-family house. This is a single-family residential zone, so only one house can be built on the parcel at the back. So the Unified Development Code has some requirements on the minimum lot width. So if a parcel is serviced by private well and septic, then the lot width needs to be 200 feet. But if it has city water but private septic, the lot width needs to be 150 feet. So the front 8-acre lot has both private septic and well, and the lot width is 237 feet that they're going to create, and that will be in compliance with the 200 feet requirement. The rear parcel will actually be served by city water and will have private septic, and it would have had to meet the requirement of 150 feet. As you can see, there isn't enough room on the property, so they are proposing a 70-foot lot width. So the configuration of the lot, because it's like a flag, is called a flag lot. And a few months back, the applicant had approached the City Council and got approval to create a flag lot as is required by the Unified Development Code. So like I said, so there are two types of variances, policy variance. This is a policy variance that needs to be approved by the City Council upon recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission. So again, going back to the previous approvals, they actually had gotten 2 approvals for this configuration from the City Council in March. One was, like I mentioned, to create a proposed flag-shaped lot. The Unified Development Code requires that anybody who's creating a flag-shaped lot would need a variance, would need approval from the city council. And just going back, a flag-shaped lot would be one where the portion of the pole that you see, that when it does not meet the minimum lot width requirement, but the rest of the parcel at the back does widen out, that's what is called a flag-shaped lot. So technically, this is considered a flag-shaped lot. Now, in this case, even though if it's flag-shaped, if instead of 70 feet, if they did have 150 feet, it would not fall under, it would not require any variances because the front would have met the width requirement. So they did get that approval from the city council, and there was another approval required where the code says that if you're creating a lot where, where the depth is more than 5 times the lot frontage on the street. So here the depth of the parcel is approximately 3,000 feet and the lot frontage is 70 feet. Even that type of a lot requires approval from the city council. So those 2 approvals were already granted. And initially, there was some discussion as to, is this a variance that needs to go to the zoning board or not? The applicant changed the configuration a little bit, and it was determined that where the new line was, they would meet all the side yard requirements for the existing house. That's why it did not need to go to the zoning board. But they're coming back to you now to reduce the lot width. So in your packet, I have this information, and the code is very clear about when is a variance warranted by the P&Z and the council. And it says that the P&Z and the council must find that these conditions apply. So just highlighting that number 1 is there are extraordinary or special conditions that just affect this property and not other properties in town, in the city. Or which may be because of the unique shape of the property or some other factor, topography and things like that. The second one is it necessary to preserve the substantial property right? And if a single family home is built on this lot, the applicant is able to use the parcel as intended by your zoning regulations. And then the third thing is it going to be detrimental to surrounding neighbors or to the general public, health, welfare, and safety. And the fourth thing that needs to be looked at is it something that's unique to the property and it does not generally apply to other properties in town. So, so there is a special condition for this property. And then the fifth thing is that the variance is not something that is created by the applicant. It cannot be a result of their own action. And the sixth thing is that it would not substantially conflict with the comprehensive plan, which in this case, the comprehensive plan does call for low density residential, and they're not at all increasing the density of that. And then the last one is that you have to look into if the code was applied as it is, would it prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property? So in this case, if this variance is denied, what else can they do on the property? So, so as per the Unified Development Code, when you look at all these considerations, it lays some guidelines for you all to look at. One is, so what makes this different from other parcels in the city? So what you look at is, what is the nature of the proposed use? What is the existing use of land in the vicinity of the parcel? Is it going to be detrimental to them? And how many people are going to, live or work in this development? Is it, again, does it have any negative impact? And is there a possibility that a nuisance may be created because a single-family home goes there? And also, is it going to affect the traffic conditions or other safety conditions in the vicinity? So these are guidelines in the Unified Development Code that help the council and the Planning and Zoning Commission make a decision. So some of it is just new stuff that has been added in the state statutes, and so there's something called insufficient findings. So what the code says and what the state statute says is that if the fact that the property may be utilized more profitably if a variance is granted should not be considered alone as grounds for a variance. So the profitability factor is not that you could consider just by itself. So in other words, if it's a single family lot, but I can make it more profitable by having a retail store, right? That's not a consideration. That's kind of an insufficient finding. And so there are other things that the code says that do not constitute sufficient grounds for granting a variance. One is the argument that the property cannot be used for its highest or best use if a variance is not granted. Again, if there is a financial or economic hardship. The term hardship is typically defined as something that is not self-created and it cannot be financial. So it stems from either the nature of the land or some other events that have happened to create the parcel or create this hardship. That was not something that was caused by the current owner of the property. And then also, is the development objective of the property owner frustrated just because the variance is not granted. So if the desire of the property owner is not really something that you look into as qualifying for a hardship. So when we looked at the variance request, this is just the analysis that hopefully will help you make the decision that one, if the variance is not granted, the applicant is not going to be able to subdivide the parcel, right? And one of the parcels is landlocked, so they cannot build on that. They won't get a building permit. So that's where we start off with. So in terms of density, there are 2 lots now. They're only going to be 2 lots. The only difference is they can use 1 lot to build. So there's not going to be any increase in the overall density. The lot size, the minimum lot size for the zone is 5 acres. And as you can see, both the lots are going to be much larger, especially the one at the back is going to be a really large lot. Comprehensive plan recommendation, one of the things that you need to consider is it against the comprehensive plan recommendation? And the comprehensive plan recommends rural character for this area. And so the scrutiny would be if this variance is approved, is that character going to be preserved or not? And then Unified Development Code, if this is approved, the lots that you see will meet all the requirements of the Unified Development Code. It's just the configuration that you're looking at. And then character of the area, would 2 lots on a site that's 27 acres adversely affect the character of the neighborhood, especially considering that this is abutting Stone Creek subdivision that has 1 acre parcels. So those are some of the things that you can consider, and it's staff's opinion that the variance does meet the criteria listed for findings of a hardship. Again, that is our opinion. The city council has to make that determination. And so notification is required. Everybody within 200 feet was notified. And at the time this report was written, we had only 2 public comments in favor and 0 in opposition. But I think now you saw there's 1 in opposition. That was, the copy was given to you all today. And so that concludes the staff presentation. Like I said, what is the action required from you all today is just the joint action is just to conduct the public hearing and close it. So there's no other action required by the city council today. Planning and Zoning Commission will make their recommendation and you will see it again in your June meeting. So that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Lada. Very good. Are there any other presentations from staff?
No, I think at this point I'm just going to
It
go
would be,
to the sequence slide and see if I can.
yeah, I think the next process would be if the applicant would like to do
I
any
was just asking
presentation.
if staff had anything else. Okay. Moving on to the next part, it's the applicant. If the applicant would like to present any information to the joint council and commission. Okay. Did do well. Next part is council and the planning and zoning receive citizen testimony, whether that's for or against the variance request. Me serving as the presiding officer. We did have cards in the back for individuals to fill out if they wanted to speak as part of the public hearing, and nobody filled out a card. Is there anybody here tonight that did not get an opportunity to fill out a card and would like to speak before the public hearing? Okay. And Christine, I have the time now is 6:52, and I'm closing the public hearing. And for council and the Planning and Zoning Commission, this will be the time that we can discuss and ask any questions of LADA, our staff, or the applicant on their process and what they're going through. The only thing I would ask is, as we go through the process, please raise your hand. I'll acknowledge you so that we don't have everybody stepping over individuals at one time. Anybody that has a comment or a question?
I do.
All right, Marty.
Bobby, you want to? You
Go ahead, Marty.
okay? I have a question about the previous configuration. I have quite a bit of interest in a lot of landlocked parcels. How did this parcel become landlocked? How did it not have any access? What was the action that caused that?
I would have to defer to the applicant to see if they can answer that question.
I'm sorry, sir, I have,
Sir, would you mind coming to the microphone so we can hear you very well, but
I'm sorry?
we can hear you very well, but we
Okay.
need,
What I'm saying, sir, is
sir, would you mind stating your name and?
Tommy Deckert. I own the property. Okay? I have 27 acres of property. Okay? I have 300 acres of frontage. And then I don't know how deep it goes. So I am selling 19 acres of property. Okay? So the owner needs access to get to his property. So I want to I have had I've had 70 acres of frontage for his road to get to his property off of my property. Does that make sense?
So the property's not actually landlocked.
Well, I wouldn't I don't know. That's what they say, it's landlocked. I don't understand that exactly at all. I have basically 30 acres of property, and I want to sell 19 acres. So the only way he can get to that 19 acres is to go through my property, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I have 70 feet of frontage that he can go through and get to his property. Does that make sense?
What you're saying is that you
Hold on
originally
a second.
bought 30 acres.
So you've created the landlocked parcel.
No, I don't know why it's. See, that's what I don't understand. They say it's landlocked. I don't know really why it's landlocked. I just want to sell 19 acres of property.
Your original property was not landlocked. What you're saying is that you want to sell the back 19 acres.
Yes, sir.
That is landlocked on its own
I don't know why it's landlocked.
because it doesn't have access to a road.
Well, that's why I have sold him 2 acres of property so he can have 70 acres of frontage so he can drive. He owns that. He will own that 2 acres, and he just wants to drive back there to his property. Yes, sir.
Did you want to explain a little bit further?
Excuse me, sir.
Help me.
Yeah. No.
Please state your name and.
Charles Kuhl from Matrix Design Group. We helped the client submit, or the applicant submit the application. And so I think the question, sir, is, how did that become landlocked?
Right.
So I don't know the history of how that parcel was created itself, but the client did not create that situation because he inherited that property.
He didn't inherit them both?
Not at the same time? Not at the same time.
But he inherited both of them.
Yes.
And how long? Well, but it wasn't landlocked because he's owned both of them.
But that parcel is landlocked. The parcel is landlocked.
But when they surveyed it and determined it way back.
Marty?
It seems so because I think we have yeah, I don't see that it's a landlocked parcel. It's under one ownership.
But it's two parcels of property.
But it's under the same ownership.
Why don't we let, you could further explain the situation.
Right. Yeah. So the Mr. Deckert has the right to sell that parcel, and it's zoned for rural residential, and if he can't have an access to that property, then he can't sell it for its use as rural residential. That parcel of property, and he did not create that parcel. Can I pose a question to you? What if somebody else owned that parcel and Mr. Deckert didn't own that parcel?
Well, then it would be landlocked. Now it's not landlocked because he owns both parcels.
The parcel.
Are we doing a re-subdivision here? Is that what? No?
No, it is a parcel it's an existing parcel.
Okay.
Oh,
Commissioner
go
Valle.
ahead.
My question is along those lines. For the engineer, did y'all research, when was the last meets and bounds written up and by which surveyor? A surveyor must have written up a meets and bounds to separate it, and in the olden days, before 1960, you could do that. Prior to that, there must have been a meets and bounds. Did y'all find the meets and bounds, the original meets and bounds for that property?
There is a meets and bounds. I'd have to pull that. I'd have to see if I can find that.
And this isn't the only, Mayor, this isn't the only landlocked piece of property in the area. You could tell by appraisal district records, there's more. But they've been around for quite a while, before Fair Oaks, it appears. Had other questions, but when we're ready, Mayor, on purpose, etc.
What does the property do south of that?
Yeah, it's
We're
another.
really getting off the topic if we're looking at other areas. But could you mind explaining, could you point at the map and show the entire property, what the original two parcels were, how you inherited them, and then what it is that we're really looking at is doing as part of the
Yes.
meeting?
It was. I believe it was in the presentation. Whoops. Oh. Oops.
Go back, would that other map help out?
Somebody's scrolling, not me.
Oh,
Sorry about that.
Christine is trying to help us out. There we go.
There.
Yeah, so there's the two parcels. That's how it's laid out right now.
That's the original configuration and was inherited at two separate times in those two parcels.
That is correct.
And how long have they been under common ownership?
When did y'all inherit the back piece?
The back piece?
2017.
2017. I have it up for sale.
And that was when the last survey was done, correct?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I've had so many surveys I couldn't even.
Excuse me. Where in your report? I read it somewhere. Excuse me, we need to speak into the mic, sir. Mr. Deckert? Report on
I'm sorry?
meets and bounds. Please speak in the mic.
Oh, okay.
The recording came.
Like I said, I'd have to go through it and find it. I apologize.
All right, for everybody up here at the table, I know we're all concerned and we have good questions. Please, if we could just keep a little organization in providing our comments. So what I'd ask, you have two different properties here. You inherited them at two different times. In 2017 was the time that you inherited the back property, so now you have two parcels and you're living in the front part. And you have now found a buyer to buy the back parcel,
Yes, sir.
and you're wanting to sell to them.
Yes, sir.
Result,
They have to have-
they do not, they're landlocked. They don't have access to
They
get
have,
to that property.
yes, sir.
So you're going to sell on the northernmost part of your property a 70-foot wide area
Yes, sir.
to allow them access to get to that property.
Perfect. Very simple. Please.
Bobby?
I have one question, and you're building that, you're selling them that property on the north side to avoid the landlock. Why didn't you do it on the south side?
I'm sorry. Oh, why didn't I? There's no room, sir, ma'am, because my house is on that side. Okay? There's no way they could
Your house
access.
is close to the border.
Yes, sir.
Oh.
You could.
Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
See, we don't have it on our map.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, makes good sense. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Bobby?
Couple of questions for Lada or the engineer. And I'd previously sent some questions to Lada and Chair Lawrence and Katie, and thank you for answering them. These questions are around the setbacks, the future potential right-of-way requirements for Ammon Road, and the plat come back to us. For the engineer, have you all looked at any, is it not catching? Have you all looked at any future setback requirements for both pieces of property? Any future right-of-way? I don't know if that dialogue has gone on with staff that may need for you to reconsider that 70 feet to go to 80 feet. Have you investigated that yet?
I have no reason why that would have to be wider than 70 feet, sir. I've lived there where I'm at right now since 1965. When I moved out there, that was a gravel road with 4 gates for me to get to Bernie. Okay? That is Ammon property, Ammon Road, which my mother was an Ammon, my grandfather was an Ammon, and we grew up on that property. Stone Creek was our property. All that property was Ammon property. We're the only ones left on that property. And there is several homes along my fence line, okay, on Stone Creek. I don't know if this makes any sense or not, but nobody asked me if anything could be done, if they could move there, or any rules or anything. All I'm trying to do here, I'm 66 years old, I'm trying to retire, okay? So I was left with 10 acres of property from my parents. And then my parents have passed away since 2017. I was left with another 19 acres. I would just like to sell that. I'm trying to make this as simple as possible with, I don't know, just as less problem as possible. I'm sorry.
Sir, we did not consider any expansion of Ammon Road whenever we looked at this. And Lotta wants that.
So actually, Katie and we did look at the thoroughfare plan, And in fact, Tobin was part of the discussion too because he had the same question. So this part of Ammon Road is not shown as a collector or a major thoroughfare. So currently it does have sufficient right-of-way. Even with that, though, if the right-of-way is increased, this property, as you can see, the setback is pretty large. The problem is going to be for the subdivision on the north. I mean,
Yes.
they're going to have a problem. So right now, the future expansion of the road should not affect this configuration. The other point to note was that 70-foot pole, the pole width, why could it not have been wider? Because of the side setback requirements. As you can see, there is a house there already. And so that was the thought, that initially the side setback would not be enough, so they would have to go to the zoning board of adjustments. But they were able to draw a line that did meet the side setback requirements. So that's why 70 feet is where they landed.
Great, that's what I wanted to hear. Can you hear me now on this one? I'm almost,
Side.
it's to the side, to the side, to the side. Test, test, test.
Hold it
We-
sideways
right
in front of your mouth.
Test, 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 test. There, there. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Lara. I appreciate that. That's what I wanted to hear, that y'all looked at that. And apparently, it is not a problem. You don't need more than 70 feet. And just to preface, I should have prefaced, I'm not against flag-shaped lots, sir. So I just want to make sure it's done right. And if it sets precedent, I've got to go through the 7 questions that the engineer responded to, 2 of which I have issues with, how you responded. Yet the hardship is, in my opinion, that it was given to you, sir, as a it's isolated. It has no access, and there's other lots that are there. So somehow you need legal access, and that's what you're doing here. Okay.
That is exactly correct. Yes.
Got it. Got it. Got it. The other issue is, my question to Lotta or to Katie is, in the front, there's plenty of room on lot 1 and lot 2 to put how many homes under the current situation? Only 1, or can they put 2 homes on 1 lot?
Sorry, like, what?
On lot 1 and lot 2,
It's a single-family residential zone, so one house on one lot.
1 lot,
Yeah.
got it. But they could take both lots together, all 27 acres, and re-subdivide, put in infrastructure, and build 5 lots of 5 acres or greater. Is that correct?
Correct.
Or, yeah, exactly.
That's
So they
correct.
could build a street with the cul-de-sac and then, yeah.
They could
Not
put more
saying that's
density.
what I
Yeah.
would require to either one of you, but to the constituency that's saying we don't want anything done here, is at least we got 2 lots and 2 homes, not 5 lots and 5 homes. So that's kind of looking at the positive. I just want to make sure it's done right, and if it sets precedent, what are the hardships? This is, to me, a hardship. It's isolated. You can't do anything with it. Some surveyor illegally subdivided it way back in the days when it probably was legal. So those are all
Probably
my
didn't have
questions,
any.
Mayor. Thank you.
Thanks, Bobby.
Thank y'all for teaching me how to use this thing.
I have a question under the insufficient findings. Additionally, the following types of possible findings do not constitute grounds for granting a variance. And number 2,
Mayor, can I ask a point of order, please?
Sure.
So, is it possible that any of the specific questions that P and Z has that they keep to their meeting and we can close the public hearing? unless it's a specific question of the applicant. You have plenty of time during your meeting to ask Lotta any specific questions for your deliberation.
Problem with that, I can wait on this question.
Question was asked. A lot of, I think it was directed towards you. David, would you mind repeating the?
Okay, and this insufficient
So Mayor, I think
findings-
my point of order was asking that he don't ask the question now, and he agreed. So I was asking that we can close the public hearing, and then he can continue with his question when the P&Z meeting happens. Because it's not specific to the applicant, and staff will be presenting this again.
As part of the finish of this, it was questions to the applicant and to staff on determination of this. So it's up to you, David, if you want to hold the question off.
I'll hold. If you want to end the public meeting, that's fine by me.
Anybody else?
Yeah, it's not a specific question to the applicant, so.
Well, this is an opportunity to air out specific questions to the applicant. A lot of presented, a lot of information. It's as a joint body here to get the information out. So we have that opportunity to hear the information. All right. And Christina, is there anything else that we need?
So if there are no questions and no more discussion, then the public hearing can be adjourned.
Thank you, Lotta. And Katie, anything else that you need from your end?
We're good.
All right. I have the time now is 7:13, and we are adjourned.